What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Nerd Media, and Daredevil Born Again has released its very first 2 episodes on Disney Plus last night, and I know this review is slightly late, but I wanted to give myself at least a few hours, up into maybe a day, just to kind of process these episodes, because there's a lot of things that happen. There's a lot of different emotions that these things that happen in the series could carry, so I just wanted to give myself some time to process my actual thoughts, not just go based off of emotions. So in this video, I'm going to be reviewing episode 1 and 2. I'm going to split them up, and there'll probably be links in the description of timestamps for each episode review. So without wasting any more time, Daredevil Born Again, we have a lot to talk about. Let's dive right into the review, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Turn on those notifications if you enjoy stuff like this. And guys, spoiler warning, obviously, for the first 2 episodes, so if you haven't seen them, go watch them and come back to this video after, because there will be spoilers in these 2 episode reviews. But man, episode 1, I just have to get this off my chest right now. I haven't been this excited for a Marvel TV series since Loki season 2, and when I hit play on episode 1, I just was blown away by the first 15 minutes. I mean, the first 15 minutes, it's great to get these characters back, and it was awesome to see them return, and we got our first, and maybe, we don't know, only one shot that we usually get in a typical Daredevil season, and it was great. Daredevil versus Bullseye, awesome, brutal fight, and they really show you that this is the first show where Marvel turning to a dark and gritty tone is genuinely happening. And obviously, Foggy, the big thing, he got killed, and I knew it was coming. A lot of us knew it was coming, but like, man, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. The reason why I delayed this review by like almost a day is because that one moment really just set my emotions for the rest of that episode in episode 2, and it didn't make me enjoy it as much as I probably should have, and as much as I wanted to. So I've thought about Daredevil Born Again pretty much all day today leading up to filming this, and just thinking about it, I'm like, damn, those 15 minutes were so cool. And the death of Foggy really kind of symbolizes the fact that they are changing, and this is kind of like a big pivotal point for Matt, and how they kind of still wanted to divide this series from the Netflix series, and they're like, okay, this is probably one of the only ways that we can officially do that. And then obviously writing Karen off of the show as well. I feel like that is a very clear and kind of cool way to just kind of symbolize that, yeah, this is a totally new direction for Matt Murdock, Daredevil. And I really think that it was a bold choice, and I've seen a lot of people not liking the show just because of that choice. And man, I'm just going to say it right now. The story that we're getting right now with just Matt and the new supporting characters is awesome. I'm loving it. And I'm actually really enjoying the new supporting characters that we got introduced in this episode. I mean, it was just so great. And I just really am so invested in that story. And it's a shame I didn't see that until I realized it like now, because I really try to think about this and not let my emotions overshadow my actual thoughts on the series. And I think I'm finally there. Foggy stuff aside, I'm just going to say it right now. That fight scene with Bullseye and Daredevil, so cool and so insane. First off, I love those 2 suits. I love Bullseye's suit and I love Daredevil's suit. And Bullseye is so terrifying because in the middle of each punch that Matt was throwing at him, he was taking that opportunity to just kill innocent people, which I think is just diabolical. But like, that whole fight sequence was so awesome. And when Matt throws him off the building, I was like, okay, we're going there. But of course, he lives somehow, and then he looks perfectly fine in the courtroom. Not really sure how that works, but hey, it leaves the door open to see him again, because he is a awesome villain. And just like, man, it was just such a cool fight scene, and I loved it. And then we get that 1-year time jump, and then we start to get that mainly just Matt Murdock story that they really wanted to do in the original draft for this show, but they reshot the whole pilot just so that they can include these characters and not just have written them off screen, which I think would have been a worse choice, because they were originally going to do that. But I'm glad that they brought it back to us for like 15 minutes, and I'm really glad that they weren't just written off. That would have been kind of disappointing, and it definitely would have affected my viewing a lot more. And getting the whole Mayor Fisk storyline was awesome, and just all of that is so great. And I was a little bit confused at the beginning. I was like, wait, I thought he was already mayor, but then he gets mayor by the end of the episode. I think that's awesome. And I just really, really, really enjoyed that part as well. And I also have to say, that Disney budget is really benefiting Daredevil because this series has a lot of CGI in the first episode, but it really, really benefits from it because now Daredevil can do these awesome things like swing from building to building with his sticks and stuff. It's so cool, and I just loved it. It was just awesome. Another thing that I want to point out in this episode that I really just dug so much was how we see Matt's hearing and just how that gets utilized in the show, especially with the way that it's shot. Because when Matt is listening in on Foggy's phone conversation, which kind of sparks the whole entire like downfall of those characters there, and the screen just widens as he's listening in, and then it closes down as he's narrowing it down to just Foggy, so he can just listen to him. So creative and so awesome, and that has to be up there with like the way that the spider sense is used in like the Spider-Verse movies or in like Far From Home or something. I'm just so in love with that, and I really, really hope that there are at least a few other moments where we get shots like that, because that was just so cool. And I will say, the first time that I saw this episode and the first reaction that I had to the death of Foggy, I felt like it played out too quickly, but looking back on it now, I really do kind of like how it was played up and just how it was kind of just out of the blue. Because if you just clicked onto this show and you knew no rumors about Foggy dying, that would have been the most surprising thing you would see all day, because that was just totally out of the blue, and I liked it a lot. Maybe it just didn't work for me because I kind of figured that this was going to happen and I was just waiting for it to happen, and especially in that moment, because I was like, okay, the way that the camera shot, it's going to happen. But hey, for people who haven't seen it, that is going to be a crazy moment, and that has to be just such a random thing to happen. And I won't lie, I do love the out of the blue part of that. Also, to talk about how Echo is mentioned like 3 different times in this episode, and I love seeing the love that Echo is getting. You know, the references to her shooting Fisk in the eye, and just him being like disappearing for months according to Vanessa because of him going to Echo, and so maybe some of the Hawkeye stuff plays into that as well. But it's really, really cool that they're connecting his character to those 2 shows, because I figured they would just play it off. It's like, that's just not Fisk. But I'm glad that they're kind of connecting that and they're giving an explanation for that, because I think that works very, very well. And that whole diner scene was so awesome and so great to see these 2 back. And after these first 2 episodes, confidently I can say that the conversation pieces for Daredevil that we saw in the original series have not shied away in this series, which is something I'm very happy about. And we all know I was worried about that a little bit just because of what some of the showrunners had said, but clearly they misspoke, because it is still there and it's awesome. And this may be the best Marvel Disney Plus pilot that we've gotten for a series, but I'm still not 100% sure on that. I love the Loki Season 1 pilot. That was a great, great starter for the series, and the WandaVision one's obviously up there as well. But who knows? This is probably my number 3 from those 2, but I have to talk about that ending, because that ending where the red light is dimming on Matt and he's looking up and Fisk is looking down with the white light just on him. I'm just like, the color grading is so good in this, and the visuals are awesome, and seeing Fisk looking down on a city that he now has somewhat of a control over, and Matt looking up with him being at one of his lowest points in his life, I think is such a cool like little thing that they threw in there. And the color grading, the music, the overall vibes and the message towards that, it was such a great way to end the episode, and I just loved it so much, and that was definitely a highlight for me. Moving on over to episode 2, this was not as long of an episode and not as action-packed, but it was still such a entertaining and fun episode. It really dived into the more legal and lawyer stuff that we usually see with Daredevil that we haven't really seen in a long time. I mean, we got a court scene with him and She-Hulk, but that was not really my favorite Daredevil scene that we've gotten from him in that show. But this episode really, really introduced us to the White Tiger, which was awesome, and I really love that introduction. Rest in peace to the actor who plays him. They pay tribute to him at the beginning of this episode. And I gotta say, I really enjoy his character, and I think that the way that like they kind of set him up, how Matt is now his lawyer because he supposedly killed a police officer, which he didn't do, but the police officers were assaulting another guy. It's a whole thing, and we'll talk about those police officers later down in this review. But man, it's such a cool character, and I really think that they're doing the White Tiger justice. And this was a character that I was looking forward to seeing in this show, and I really think that it paid off, and I can't wait to see more of him because I'm really enjoying him so far. And then obviously we can't go without saying that Matt's new love life is obviously here, and he always kind of has one every season, if not two every season. And I think that this is probably one of the more interesting ones we've gotten in recent years. You know, he's had Karen Page, Electra. I'm not really sure what the other ones are. I can't really think of them right now, but I know those are the two main ones that we've gotten, most notably, and She-Hulk, obviously. But those are like the three like main ones that we all know and love. And I feel like with something that kind of goes down in this episode, it really feels like that his new love interest may not make it out of the season alive, because when she's like signing the books and everything, we see this kid come up and he says that he needs help. She writes down her email and everything. I've seen a lot of people pointing out how that could be Muse. I didn't catch it at first, but as I thought about it more, I was like, yeah, they're probably right. That probably is Muse. And if he figures out about Matt and then he figures out how she is connected to Daredevil, he may go for her and kill her. And I feel like there are shots in the trailers where he is just extremely pissed when he's fighting Muse. I don't know, guys. I don't think Heather is making it out of this season alive. And then episode 2 gave us a reference to Spider-Man. Hearing Fisk talk about him, it really makes me happy just hearing about Spider-Man, because knowing that he is still just out there doing his superhero thing since No Way Home really makes me happy, just because he's probably doing that 24/7, considering that No Way Home ended Peter Parker and it just begun him just being purely Spider-Man, which is why I'm excited to see just pure Spider-Man in Doomsday and then dive more into the Peter Parker stuff in Spider-Man 4. But such a cool little reference, and I'm glad that they're kind of touching on that stuff. And then obviously in this episode, I was kind of thinking, are we going to see Bullseye again? Because he got sentenced to life in prison, but we all know he's probably not going to be there for very long. And I feel like we could see him at the end of the show somehow, maybe in like the final battle. I'm not sure, because I feel like we've already seen all the trailer footage that was shown to Bullseye, so I don't think we'll see him again, but we'll have to wait and see. Just a little thought I had during this episode. And guys, that last scene in this episode and that fight scene was so brutal, and it was just so good. And just seeing Matt like snap the bones and stuff, I was just like going crazy, because that is such an awesome fight. And the fight scenes for this show have been awesome so far. The first 15 minutes in episode 1, great, awesome, some of the best Daredevil action that we've gotten. And then we get this at the end of episode 2, and I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. And I'm very happy about it. I'm very happy about how the show is going so far, and I'm really enjoying it. And then in that fight, there's one thing I want to point out, which is how the two guys had like the Punisher like logo on them and tattooed on them, which makes me think that this is probably going to be some sort of corrupt like police force that is kind of doing what Fisk is doing in some ways by taking out the vigilantes but killing them. And that, I think, is something that is in the comics. I think that is something that is confirmed to be in this show, which could lead to why Matt goes to Frank. And I think that that is probably going to be a very big key point of this show, which is that group and seeing how they handle things, which would make sense with why they want to take out White Tiger so much. And I just think that that is going to be a very interesting and kind of probably very serious and good plot that they dive into, hopefully more in the rest of this season. But yeah, guys, overall, I have thoroughly enjoyed this series so far. It is so much fun, and I'm really excited to see where this journey that Matt Murdock goes on is going to take us over the next few weeks, because we still have well over a month with this show, and I'm very happy about that, and I cannot wait. And the new supporting cast is awesome. I'm so happy with that, and I did not expect to love the new supporting cast as much as I have now. I mean, it's just crazy, but it was really well done, and I'm very excited for what's to come. Overall, was it worth the hype? Absolutely. Was it fun and bold? Totally. They make some totally bold choices, but it is very fun and very much like Daredevil. And is it the best Disney Plus series for Marvel? Maybe. We're going to have to wait and see on that and wait for the rest of the series to come out. But so far, so good. And I think that if it can manage to top things like Loki and WandaVision, that would just be crazy to me. But I am so excited for the rest of this series. I can't believe they're making us wait another week to find out what happens because I just love the ending of that episode and I just want more immediately. And I wish they could have taken the Invincible route and given us 3 episode premiere, but here we are. But with all that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of Daredevil Born Again's premiere and if you enjoyed it. But with all that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you thought. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.